for the real definitive top 10 fighting game list.
So he about to say some trash.
I was gonna put UMK3 on here, but I thought about it. MK9, it legit brought MK back from life support, so that much has to be respected. MK
That logic is no way you put Street Fighter 2 on here.
It's definitely on here. MK9
garbage,
was a fun game. Had some issues like with some DLC characters, but I mean, I think at this point a lot of games just had some busted stuff. But it was a solid game. I mean, overall package, it brought the community like more competitive scene. Brought the unveiling of Sonic Fox. So yeah, this was a good game because MK9 was on life support. I mean, MK in general was on life support. Street Fighter 2, I don't think anything has to be said about this. Because let's be honest, if there was no Street Fighter 2, do y'all really let's think about where fighting games would be. Let's be honest with ourselves.
If it was where would fighting games be without Street Fighter 4?
Nah. Without Street Fighter 2, there's no Street Fighter 4.
Oh, you might as well go just say without Street Fighter 1, there's no Street Fighter 2. So that means that Street Fighter 1 is better because you don't get Street Fighter 2 without Street Fighter 1.
Nah. Because these two games on totally different stratospheres. Street Fighter 1 was hot garbage. Hot, unplayable, cryptic garbage.
But Street Fighter 2 definitely had to get a first game though, because Street Fighter 2 is the second game in the franchise.
Hey man, I said what I said. Street Fighter 2. All right, on to the next. Street Fighter 4.
Terrible.
I mean, Street Fighter 4. Of course, nothing has to be said about this. It again came around the time when the fighting games were kind of on the low. Street Fighter came back in and just brought life back into the scene. It was a great game. It was fun to watch, fun to play. As most games, it was starting to get volatile. Like the newer games came out, cheap stuff in the game. But I mean, that's just fighting games in general. Tekken 3. I don't think I kind of personally I would put Tekken 2 on there because Tekken 2 was also great to me. But Tekken 3, come on, man. Tekken, bro, do y'all understand what Tekken 3 was when it came out? That game was Tekken 3 did what Soul Calibur did for Dreamcast. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if Tekken 3 was better than the arcade version tech-wise, but for that to be on a home console in the mid-90s, late 90s, that was crazy. I vividly remember the time my brother bought Tekken 3 home. We unwrapped the packaging, opened it up, put it in the game, and I just went galaxy brain. My brain exploded because I'm like, there's no way that something this good is on a PlayStation in our house.
Are you talking about just how it looked?
No, I'm talking about the whole experience, the gameplay, the visuals. Tekken 3 is I don't see any top fighting game list without Tekken 3 on there, bro. What that game did continue to do for 3D fighting games. Come on, bro. Soul Calibur. I got Soul Calibur 1 and 2 on here. Again, as I gotta reiterate, Soul Calibur 1 was better than the arcade version. That was just about unheard of. That game was legendary on Dreamcast, right? A console that died way before its time. That game was awesome. Visuals, sounds, gameplay, that game literally blew my mind the first time I saw it. I'm like, this is crazy. Again, I'm playing this in my house. This is what games look like now. We went from Mario to this. Soul Calibur 2, great game. It had guest characters. That was Blue Mama guest characters. Great gameplay.
What number are you on, Devin?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm on 6.
You on 6? So yeah. I could guess the other 2 that you already got on here. So I know at least 8.
Yeah,
you finna be missing. You finna be missing something crazy. Keep going.
Soul Calibur 2, MVC 2. I don't think I got to speak on that. UMVC 3. To me, I feel like MVC 2 kind of did. UMVC 3 kind of did what MVC 2 did in a way. There was so many hype matches. There was so much competitive drive and just ambition. People people were getting so good at this game. They were breaking this game wide open. We had rivalries watching and come on now, Rexon. We can attest to this. We not finna sit up and say that watching them events wasn't fuego. Caliente. Come on now. Watching Filipino champ, Kane Blue River, all bro. Come on, man. Chris G. Watching all these matches, bro. Man, bro. Come on, man. The visual treat that MVC3 was for that time frame, it was curly mustache. Where your colored mustache at? Come on, bro. KOF 13, I would say I got to give some love to SNK. That was like the SNK game that kind of got me into like their game. So beautiful visuals. I wish they would make games like this more. I get it, it's more expensive because it's like hand-drawn sprites, but man, that game looked beautiful. Soundtrack was awesome, great roster characters. It was a great game to play. I love the combo system. Online wasn't the greatest, but again, watching this when this game was in the tournament scene, watching Cafe ID, those players, Romance, what's his name, Reynald, bro, it was good times. And this is more of a personal one. If I had to replace this one, I'd probably replace it with CVS2, but I got Dead or Alive 2 on there.
You ain't got CVS2 on your top 10 fighting games of all time list?
No. That's why
you ain't got a Smash game on your top 10 fighting games of all time list.
If I would replace one, it'd be Dead or Alive 2. I'd either replace it with Melee or CVS2. Or I could just I'd probably take Soul Calibur 2 off and replace it with one of those.
Evan. We allowing this man to do this?
The fact that y'all ain't got Street Fighter 2 on there, so that just
you ain't got a Smash game or
and you ain't got Street Fighter 2 on your list of all greatest fighting games of all time.
Devin.
It's crazy. I'm like, why
greatest fighting games of all time in Street Fighter.
Soul Calibur 1 over CVS2?
Not them. They said the best
Street Fighter 2.
Greatest Street Fighter. The greatest fighting games, not the most nostalgic ones.
Y'all's opinions is null and void because you say Street Fighter 2 is not on a top 10 fighting game of all time list. Street Fighter 2.
Are you telling me you putting Soul Calibur 1 over CVS2?
It don't matter because Street Fighter 2 ain't on your list.
What are you?
What?
A Smash game isn't on your top 10 list.
This man is trolling right now.
I just said if I were to replace one, it'd be Dead or Alive 2, and I'll replace it with either Melee or CVS2.
He has to be.
And if I'm not taking both MECs off, if I had to take one off, it'd be Soul Calibur, one of Soul Caliburs. I'll probably take Soul Calibur 2 off and replace it with Melee and replace Dead or Alive with CVS2. So those are my
Soul Calibur 2 off. He said that this man really said that with his whole chest that he would take off Soul Calibur 2 instead of taking off Street Fighter 2.
I heard what I said about Soul Calibur 1.
That is insane. That is
I don't know what to tell you, man.
Did you even have Third Strike on the list?
No. I got Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 2 on there. You just said how they're not gonna have Street Fighter 4 on there.
I'm just saying, the games that you replacing them with, though. Like a Soul Calibur 1, you putting a DOA game
like this.
above
We acting like
CVS2.
Soul Calibur 1 ain't like one of the greatest fighting games of all time. Soul Calibur 1.
I didn't say that, but I mean, 10 is 10. 10 is definitive. 10 can only be 10. I'm not saying it can't be 11. That's still amazing.
Okay, he just mentioned the Budokai game. I'm pretty sure that was one of my favorite games, Dragon Ball fighting game. But I'm pretty sure most people probably wouldn't consider that for a greatest top 10 list. Budokai 3 was fire though.
I mean, you ain't lying what you just said, but your list is just it's left, Devin.
Your list don't have Street Fighter 2 on it.
Bro,
I'm sorry. I like one thing I can't abide, man. It's like we put Tekken 3 on there, and there's no other Tekken. Like so there were no other
Tekken. Put Tekken 5 on there.
The Tekken 3, like that's
Tekken
crazy,
5 on
man.
there.
See, that's why I say it's hard for me to just put so many personal picks in it. Because like when you put your personal, it be sounding so blasphemous. Like Soul Calibur 1, Soul Calibur 2, MVC 2, MVC 3, then Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter. So that's like six spots right there. And then it's just like you ain't fit. You got to fit in a Tekken game. You got to fit in more Capcom games. You got to fit in an MK game. You got to fit in a Smash game. It's like you can't do that. You can't do that.
Why can't we have Street Fighter 2 on the top 10 list? That's my question. Because there's no way that we're debating the Street Fighter 2 is not on top 10 of all time.
Of all time,
you understand what that game did for the arcade scene? What like I think it almost probably literally just made the competitive scene itself. It made that whole amalgamation of people going to arcades and playing against each other.
Appreciate what you did, Grandpa, but then we came afterwards, took the baton, and did it better. Appreciate it, Grandpa.
That's why I got Street Fighter 4 on there as well.
But you ain't got Third Strike or Alpha 3 on it.
I thought we were going by objective, not personal.
Your list got to be personal. I ain't no way you objectively putting Street Fighter 2 on there.
What? Bro, man. Every time I hear Street Fighter, every time I hear Street Fighter 2, I'm just like, oh man. So it's nostalgia again. Just like how I feel about Tekken 3.
It was also a fun game.
My only personal one I had on the list was Tekken Tag Tournament 2.
Do you know that this game coined terms that we use in all fighting games? DP. That's a term we use in every fighting game that has something like that. A DP.
Bro, you like one of them people that'd be like, the Model T is a top 10 car of all time.
No.
I'm not saying Street Fighter 2 is a bad game. I'm not saying it at all.
I am.
But I'm saying what it did, people came afterwards in its own IP and did it better than what it did. So the only reason you would put it in the top 10 is you'd be like, I just gotta have respect to the OGs and put it in there. Like that's the only way you do that. And I'm not saying it's a bad game, but there's other Street Fighters that have just done it better.
I literally have Street Fighter 4 on here.
Then I can name two.
I think there's only 3 I think that's up for being best all time, and that's Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 2, and Third Strike.
Devin, you cannot say it's not blasphemous to not have CVS2 in your top. You cannot say it's not blasphemous to not have a Smash in your top 10.
Well, I can say it's blasphemous to not have Street Fighter 2 on your list. like, what do we do with it?
I don't know. I just feel like it's tough to put 2 MVCs in the same list. I mean, it's like, because like I said, typically when you do top 10 lists, you have one from each individual IP. But I feel like you can't really do that with Street Fighter though. I just don't think you can do that with Street Fighter. Like, it got to be more than one Street Fighter in the top 10 fighting. Like, when you see people do the list before other people do lists, it's like you always know they go put Third Strike as like the best fighting game of all time and then leave like the other Street Fighters off. And it's like, how do you do that? Like, how do you leave off Street Fighter 4 in any top 10 fighting game list? I just don't know how you do that. Like,
I'm gonna have to agree with that.
Like, I got Soul Calibur 2, MVC 2, MK9 or MK3, Alpha 3, because Alpha 3 is just a better game to me. Tekken 5, Smash Ultimate, Tekken Tag Tournament 2, CVS2. I gotta put Street Fighter 4 in there, man. Street Fighter 4 was just it's just you just can't. Because people like to talk about like the impact that Third Strike had on the scene. Street Fighter 4 was bigger. It is what it is. And then KOF 13. So I just don't got Third Strike on my list, man. And I respect what it did. It probably just don't sound like it. Like, I respect what it did. I respect what it is. Like, I just think y'all deify that game so much, man. I'm probably gonna be alone on that train, but I definitely know I'm not alone in a lot of people saying that Alpha 3 was better than Third Strike. And I know I'm not alone with people saying there's no way you have a top 10 fighting game list with Street Fighter 4 not on it. Now, hey, but Third Strike could be on there, but you'd have 3 Street Fighter games on there for sure. And then if that's the case, either I'd have to knock off Tekken Tag Tournament 2 or KOF 13. Objectively, I'd probably knock off Tekken Tag Tournament 2. I'd have to keep KOF 13.
I hate that game, so.
But personally, I'd have to. But you know how it is, Devin. When the game out, everybody like, yeah. And then 5 years later, everybody's just like, man, you know what?
It's a good game.
It wasn't even that bad. Like, Like, we really need another one because it was really good, you know. Like, people being like in the Instagram comments now, like, man, you know what? Street Fighter 5 wasn't even that bad. Y'all didn't say that for the whole
You know that's how it's gonna
6
go.
years that best was out. Y'all
Street
killed
Fighter
that
7
game.
come out, man. You know, Drive Rush actually wasn't that bad. It was, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, y'all killed Street Fighter 5 when it was out. Just wouldn't let it live the release down. And I promise people be in the comments now like, man, you know what? Street Fighter 6 just helped me realize 5 wasn't that bad. Like, Kami tried to tell y'all when he got to the end of his life cycle, like Street Fighter 5 is really like a legit overall great game. But y'all didn't want to hear it until 6 came out and you had to worry about throw loops and drive rush and skipping neutral and Rashid and Akuma.
That sounds like Street Fighter 5. So
Basically.
Throw Loops, Akuma, Rashid.
Yep.
It was a game, but I
don't know how y'all just allow that man to keep being in Street Fighter. I'd have just been started a petition to get him out of Street Fighter. That man's ridiculous.
Who, Akuma?
But
I agree.
Rashid, like I and people just put up with it. Just see his clips and be like, dang, that's crazy. And keep moving on. Like, it ain't no way. This man playing a whole different game.
You sure we're not talking about Akuma? I actually had Soul Calibur 2, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. This is in no particular order. Guilty Gear X2 Accent Core Plus R. For those of you who don't know,
like you just said a cheat code.
That game was actually really good. I mean, even like the original version of the Guilty Gear X2, like way back in like the early 2000s when that game came out. I saw that on I think it was like Blister, I think it was. I can't remember. It was on G4. And me and my brother saw that game. We're like, oh man, we gotta play that game. And I went out and bought a copy, and it was amazing. And you think the only thing is at that point, you know, we didn't have DLC yet. So whenever a new version of the game came out, you had to go back to the store and go buy the new version. You know, that's just the way it was. So Guilty Gear X2 Accent Core Plus R was, I think, maybe like the third or fourth version of the game, maybe even the fifth, because I think they had Guilty Gear X2 Reload on the Xbox, the original Xbox back then too. But yeah, I mean, at that point, you know, characters like Zappa, which was my favorite character, were like just borderline busted at that point. Like some of the characters were able to do some ridiculousness in Plus R. So I mean, if you're interested in checking it out, just go check it out. Go look at some of the videos, the YouTube videos online. I mean, some of that stuff will blow your mind, yo. Let's see. I think, of course, Capcom versus SNK 2. I find it really strange, at least in my opinion, that the Dragon Balls, the Budokai games were not mentioned at all on the list. I think they at least deserve a spot because that was a game. Those were some games that came out and people were always looking forward to them, like always. You know, I mean, if you had brought out a Budokai game now, people would have bought it like easily. Like that's like, I mean, they just bought Sparking. But if it had been like a straight up Budokai game, like back on the PS2, people would have bought that too. I think MKX, that's more of a personal take. I just thought it was a really good game. You know, Smash, but I think Smash Ultimate, I think deserves a spot. Yeah, and here's a game that a lot of people probably are going to disagree with. Bloody Roar 4. I thought Bloody Roar 4 was actually really, in my mind, was a really, really good, really fun game. Didn't really get a whole lot of attention, to be honest. But I remember playing that game, and me and my brother, my brothers and my friends would get real competitive about it. I used to play Ragey the Crow, if anybody remembers that guy. And last spot goes to, for me, is Dead or Alive 5, because yeah, just in general, that was a really cool game with some really cool characters, and I thought the mechanics of the game were pretty awesome. I really liked playing Lisa. Like, I didn't expect to like that character as much as I did, but she was a really, really good character, Lisa and Rig. And honorable mention would go to what's called Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, the one that came out on PS4 a couple years back. I think that game, the way that they like gave it the remaster to kind of look a little better, made it a lot more appealing. But even at the very core, the game was just fun to play. It's a really good game, and I feel like it didn't get enough attention. And of course, you probably noticed that Street Fighter 2 is nowhere to be found on this list. I mean, I've been banging this drum for years. Street Fighter 2, okay, cool. It's like one of those like foundational games. But just because you're still driving like an old like broke down like lemon from like the 50s in big 2024, while everybody else is driving a Maserati. It's like, well, this car is definitely deserves to be, on the same list as like a Maserati or like a Tesla or something like that. It's like, no,
I can't go that far, but I agree it's not on the list. Matter of fact, I just looked at my list and I realized I blasphemed. I think I got to take Third Strike off my list, man. I just got to take it off the list. Like.